Hey, what's going on? Welcome, everyone.
What's
Welcome
up?
to Dungeon Class. This is where critical points. We give you critical points to level up your D&D game. I'm Mark. The guy in the middle there is Logan,
Hi.
and Gonzo, the Goblin King, seems awfully not here. Huh.
Hmm.
Oh, that's very strange. Very
Interesting.
interesting. Maybe he'll be joining us. What's?
I'll
There's
be right back. Continue.
Okay, there's something very different about Gonzo that I can't really place what's going on right now.
Oh, you know what it is?
What?
He probably has a new T-shirt. That's what we're seeing.
Oh, he's trying to
That's
show
probably
off
it.
his I
Yeah.
tell you, a new T-shirt. Yeah, he wants to surprise us with this new T-shirt.
Yeah. coming out with the
Well,
fashion.
welcome to those that are with us. Thank you for joining us. And oh yeah,
There it
that
is.
is an interesting shirt. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, that's a nice looking shirt there.
Yeah.
So how's Ike Turner doing? I mean, I haven't heard from Ike Turner in a while.
So, I lost my hair last week, and my beard, even that won't grow back like a shit.
Oh.
I'm desperately trying to hang on to my eyebrows because of all the chemo. It's just taking all my hair.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I found this, and now I feel greater than ever. So
that is epic. I do like it, and it does look like the Goblin King. Very nice. I like this. Yeah. Somehow you're like infinitely cooler with that hair.
that's what I said. So couldn't have happened at a better time. I needed to
Yeah.
get cooler.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You guys, can you hear me okay and everything?
Yeah,
I
I can hear you fine. Yeah, you're
Right.
coming through pretty good. And I'm just I'm like I'm distracted by this hair as well.
Well, that happens. Yeah, I have that effect.
He turned some
all right.
heads.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome everyone, and we're here talking about some one of our favorite things, which is Halloween.
Halloween.
Scaring
This is
people,
Halloween. Yeah.
being scared, and all that kind of good stuff. So we're talking about some Halloween stuff, and I don't know. I kind of love running some D&D kind of Halloween flavored stuff. So this is kind of my jam. I think I really like doing that. Last year, I ran a Halloween one shot, and I look to maybe do that possibly this year. And I know Logan just ran something recently that was Halloween flavored, and
Yeah.
so we're gonna get into that a little bit.
For sure. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to avoid this Corona stuff at school, but all's going well so far. We've only had 7 cases in our school of 2,000, so
I guess that's good. Yeah, for that big of a high school.
Yeah.
good numbers there. So
That's good.
I've had some kids that have been quarantined, and recently, just a couple days ago,
Yeah.
a whole busload of kids had to be quarantined. They got it on, I guess, someone on the bus. It wasn't like it was as a case like I think where because we use the same buses. It was a case of maybe they had sat where another kid might have been, so it ended up being 50 kids. So 50
Oh my
kids,
gosh.
good chunk of kids, big chunk
Wow.
of kids. But yeah, it hasn't really hasn't been a big giant problem for us anyway. I think the biggest thing is we clean all the desks and stay 6 feet and all wear masks and all that good stuff. So
Well, that's good.
so far so good. So that's my life. You guys are working hard. I imagine Logan's enjoying the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. I work outside.
Yeah.
But it's finally changed a little bit for us. At least the humidity's down. Even if the temperature is 85, it just doesn't feel the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Feels a lot better here in Florida than it did.
A little bit of fall in the air, so Florida style.
Yeah. Right. 85.
Slight drop in humidity. Oh, it's so nice out. Yeah,
Right.
I know. Yeah. I was out running earlier, and it was definitely nice and cool. That's much preferable to 95% humidity and all that. That's not good times right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'd much prefer that. Very good. So thought we'd talk a little bit news-wise. we have a little bit of news. Gonzo.
Yeah, it just came up. In fact, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking it up a little bit, but
I could bring up the tweet if you like.
Yeah, go ahead. Bring it up. This is crazy
tweet.
stuff.
What tweet? What are you guys talking about?
Yeah,
what is
so
this
we
news?
got this news. Hold on. All right, so we got hold on. Find it on my not my entire screen.
Chat, if you know what the news is, let us know, because I'm confused.
You're confused in the news.
What is the news?
Our chat hasn't showed up yet, but they'll be here soon.
This is breaking news.
A little early.
There we go. All right, I just needed to have a window to do it. All right, here we go. So, breaking news. I can just share a window. Why won't it let me do a window? Select a window.
Did you select the window?
I didn't select the window because the window wasn't there yet. No, don't do that. Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
We need like that little loading screen with like someone dancing on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, either way,
yeah, go ahead and read
I'll talk about it, and if you pull it up, you pull it up. But Dragonlance, for those of you that have been around a little while, is a campaign setting that TSR put out back in the day in first edition. And more importantly, it was a set of novels that took the fantasy genre by storm, written by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Those two have written many. There it is, right there.
Boom.
Written many books in that world since that first one came out, and they just caught the fantasy world by storm. Everyone that was reading anything fantasy ran right to Dragonlance and R.A. Salvatore's books and Forgotten Realms, and those were the two biggest books running. And it was fun as a young person to get the new book, and then 6 months later I could get the Salvatore book, and then 6 months later I could get the next Dragonlance book. They were coming out that fast. And these two writers were amazing. They did a really good job of creating this really cool world. They created a new race called the Kender, along with the Lizardborn, which were different. I liked the things they did with them. And they had the main part of their world that was different than a lot of other worlds at that time was that the gods were here on Earth. Like they were interfering and literally walking on the Earth, messing around with chaos and all of that, and
right.
just
kind of Greek mythology inspired.
Yeah, they tied into that for sure. So these books are classic. They created a TSR. In fact, they were gamers already and playing the game, and then wrote the novels for TSR. And then TSR also released the modules, which were all set in a Dragonlance campaign setting.
Right.
And Mark and I have talked about this coming back at some point, and we both agreed that it wouldn't come back because, unfortunately, these books are now 30 years old. Yeah. So a lot of younger people don't know what Dragonlance is, or and have nothing to reference for that. There's not been a movie series like Lord of the Rings or something that's pushed it to the forefront. Right. So we said until a Netflix adaptation or a movie or at least some books would come out, some new novels, that Wizards of the Coast could jump into. Until that happened, we wouldn't see a campaign setting, I don't believe, in D&D, because who really knows about it except the old grognards like me and my kids. So,
and they must have heard about it because they went ahead, and that's where they were going, huh?
That's where they were going.
They heard us talking and said, that's what we need to do. That's a good idea. Let's drum up some interest in this Dragonlance thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, Rivers, how you doing? And he said Dragonlance is cool. It is cool. Yeah. It is cool. It had a lot of, the book itself was good because it mixed humor with emotion and with passion and with drama in just the right way. They were really good writers working together because they had, it's one of those stories where everything worked. The humor worked, the drama worked, the war and the tension was good. It was all, there's meaningful consequences to things. It was really well done.
Yeah, I remember reading them after reading Lord of the Rings. And, for me, I was like, man, this Lord of the Rings stuff, this is great. This is great stuff, but it dragged a little bit, for my taste. It was like very, Tolkien's very descriptive, and the action just wasn't, it was a little bit low on action compared to, I jump into Dragonlance like, yeah, this is right out of the gate. We're doing stuff, and there's fighting going on. And tension was really right from the beginning. There's tension, there's stuff's happening at the was it Sullus End of the Last Home, and all that was
Into the Last Home. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that was happening, and so that was awesome.
This I just saw less than an hour ago. I don't know when it originated, but it's, as you can see, it says the authors, which is Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, are suing Wizards of the Coast for breach of contract. And when you click on the Ian World article, which I wouldn't have you do, Mark, because there's so many ads in that junky site that it'll log up your screen. But when you click and read the article, they have already written 2 books for Wizards of the Coast. They were contracted in 2019 to do that. They've written 2 of the 3. They were supposed to do a new trilogy. And these are older writers now. They're in their 60s, I would assume. So I'm sure that was a lot of work for them. And Dragonlance, Wizards of the Coast canceled their contract June of this year. And they referenced, and this is what I don't quite understand yet. And then we're going to do some investigative journalism, Mark and I, and we'll talk about this next live.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I got my flight. I'm ready to go. I'm heading to Wizards of the Coast headquarters.
Yeah, we're going to pound the pavement and find out. But they referenced that
with
they've
Jeremy.
had some complications lately with racism and privilege and things that they've encountered within the company, and that they have to do some different things. And they hired a new writer to do it, which makes no sense to me, because anyone that's going to buy the new book, for one, generally the first audience you're going to target is the ones that have read it before and that know those 2 names as the creators of Dragonlance.
Right.
So to go away from those creators for any reason makes no fiscal sense to me, or any sense.
Yeah.
And then number 2, to hire a new writer. I don't know if they're trying to save money or whatever, but this lawsuit's going to bite them in the butt anyway, I would assume.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this goes.
I hope they settle it up, because, honestly, it just makes sense to keep that. We were talking earlier, what would happen if they decide that they want to put Dritz in the hand of somebody other than R.A. Salvatore? That would be rough.
Almost, it's like sacrilegious. It's like trying to have like new Calvin and Hobbes come out with Bill Watterson not as the author.
Right. Yeah.
And this is the cool thing, is when they created the Dragonlance books, these 2 writers themselves, TSR put out 50 books, Dragonlance, Kaz the Minotaur, and this and that, and over here, and the Kender stories, and they had these duos and all. And
there were different writers, right?
Different writers for that.
Yeah.
But the main source of the storyline still was the duo Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, and I feel like bringing it back in 2020 would have been smart to use. Is smart to use those 2 people, and then you could go off and blow it up and try to promote it all over the place, do a Netflix series, do whatever you want.
Right.
But anyway, we'll find out where this goes, but it is very, for me personally, it's very disappointing that they would let the 2 people, the only people I want to see if they're bringing this back and trying to bring it to the forefront, is the writers that created it.
Here's how I would solve it.
Okay.
If I were in charge, I would keep Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss in charge of that, and I would use this new writer to adapt it for, say, a Netflix show. And then everyone's happy. Like you're keeping that writer employed. They have a task to do, and it's not the same. Making a book into a screenplay is a different art, and maybe that person's not part of their skill set. I don't know, but that would be a job anyway, and so that would be. You get the best of both worlds, because I really think, honestly, I like the idea of a Dragonlance Netflix show if done right. Because you've got time to develop those characters.
You can use small characters. You don't even have to touch on the big ones that are more movie related. Like you can just use small things, like Star Wars is doing with The Mandalorian, where you can build on something that's completely different or smaller within the world, but has some ties to the main storyline that eventually they may get movie rights to do. It's funny how it works now, where a Netflix show could lead to a movie, where it's generally been the other way around. But nowadays, the creativity's there, Logan, the ability to tell stories in a timing and in a pace that fits better for those of us that want to consume nonstop. So we want a lot of content, right? So that's good. I don't know what you think. You're a little younger than us by half at least. So I know you've read them. I know you've read them, but what's your thought of Dragonlance in general, and what's your point of view versus Mark and I's?
I mean, it's kind of weird because like, for me, by the time I was old enough to like read these and understand them, like D&D I was playing D&D 5e, and so this stuff just kind of seems almost like the history of D&D.
Yeah.
Like this to me, like all the other previous versions, everything I understand it came in order, but for me this is all like before I knew it. So I kind of lump it all with like, oh, this is the origins of D&D, and this was kind of in there along with R.A. Salvatore, and other kind of creative works that took place in this, fantasy setting. And so it's kind of weird, this is like a quintessential part of Dungeons and Dragons. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of drama. Disappointing for sure. Yeah, I hope they figure it out because
well, we're gonna find out. Mark and I, like I said, we're gonna
we're gonna pound the pavement.
We'll fly to Seattle from Florida. We'll pound on the door and get to the bottom of this, and we'll report back in the next live stream some more info.
Yeah,
but definitely.
And please welcome next special guest Chris Perkins to answer.
Yeah. We'll get Chris and Jeremy in here.
Yeah, we'll just grab him.
We'll just bring him in. Might as well. So.
All right, so
let's talk Halloween. That's just news that just came up that kind of what's going on. But let's talk Halloween. We've done videos, Mark, on Halloween. We've done a video on using classic slasher film monsters where we actually gave them D&D 5th edition stats.
Yep.
And we've done a video on atmosphere and how that can affect your game. And I think Logan wanted to start with talking about a game he recently ran in my house. Go ahead, Logan. Just tell us how you did it, what you did, and why it felt like the season.
And was there any crying in that game?
Crying?
A little bit, actually.
All right.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We just played in the kitchen, right behind where Dad's at, kind of to the side. It opens up into our kitchen from that room. And first thing I did, so a little bit of backstory. This game consisted of me as the dungeon master, my brother Ben, who's been on the channel before, my sister Kaylee, who's also been on the channel, and then my wife, who's yet to be on the channel and needs to be, wink wink.
Amen to that.
And then also we had Boston and Olivia, which are some of our friends, and it was Olivia's very first time playing.
Okay, so you had a first timer.
It was a first timer. I probably had the most experience, but like maybe by like 3 minutes, other than Ben. Like he's got just about as much knowledge as I do. But I wanted to do something kind of Halloween themed because, well, I just like Halloween. I wanted to be scary and spooky.
Okay.
So I wrote up the adventure in my head, took some quick notes, and when we were ready to play, I had everyone go get their dice, sit at the table, and I just gave them little pre-made, the first level characters they could burn through this one shot with, because we're more or less teaching Olivia, who was her first time, how to play.
Okay.
And while they're everyone around the table is kind of going over hints and things for Olivia, like, oh, these are your dice. They say D20 means the dice with the 20. They're just going through all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I went to work in setting the mood. Okay. The game was ready. The events and the monsters, all the stats, that was all ready. But, just like how a scary movie isn't scary if it doesn't have the right music, if everything's bright and you can see everything perfectly, Like, you can have a scary monster, but if it's like to Walmart shopping center music.
People at night.
Yeah.
They usually chase people at night. During the middle of the day, you don't see a lot of chase scenes in scary movies.
No.
No. Strange. Light. Okay.
Weird. Yeah.
The lighting. You adjusted the lighting?
So I closed all the other doors so there wasn't any sound except for what was in the room.
Okay.
I shut off all the lights, the electric lights, and I just lit candles all over the room. And we had one lamp that I dragged into there, and I put like a cloth over it so it was like really dim, and just so they could all see their the character sheets and their dice. But that was it. Other than that, it was pretty dark. And I had a playlist of creepy music I had playing, just kind of some atmospheric, weird sounds. And
Okay.
next to where I was sitting, behind my little DM's area, I had a metal chair, like a little metal folding chair that I had set up with a cardboard box with a wooden stick and a bag of batteries. And those were my tools for the night.
Okay.
And so, and then also, we also had these, like, mom's got these weird, behind where Gonzo's sitting, that plant looking thing, like straight back behind the piano and the chair.
Looks like a big
yeah. I dragged that out, and I used those things for sound effects. So the light was dark, it had creepy background music, and whenever they were running through the forest, they heard noises in the trees, I would shake that big plant thing. There was a rustling of leaves and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And I just had my hand under the table. You know, I'm talking to them like this, and my hand just goes over and starts shaking it from the other side. And so they just hear it shaking and moving. Whenever they were lost in the forest, arguing about which way to go, I would take that bag of batteries, just kind of lift it up, and then slam it on the metal chair and make a big loud bang. Everyone would jump and scream.
I was trying to rest from my chemotherapy. I appreciate it.
Yep, you heard screaming and crashing. That was
no
what
rest
you heard. Super effective.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love you, Dad.
So you had some methods where you actually used real world stuff to help the atmosphere of the game become a little more spooky. You dimmed the lights, you used sounds that would garner their attention. You had spooky music playing. Did you do any visual, or I know visual?
I did, yeah. When I was describing kind of things they're looking at, I'd pull up maybe like pictures or something.
Okay.
Or I had some artwork. We have this book that I think we got from a Kickstarter, Dad. It's like a Grim Hollow.
Yeah.
Of like this kind of dark fantasy setting, and it had like a creepy forest, and I showed them the forest. Like, this is what you're looking at.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Whenever they were in the forest and there was no light because it was pitch black, I turned off the lamp. I blew out some of the candles, and then it was really dark. I'm like, well, we can't see anything. I'm like, Kevin, what do you do? One of them says, I cast a light spell. So I turned on a flashlight and I gave it to them, like, there's your light spell.
Okay.
Also, I talked in crazy voices.
But that's just normal.
Love funny voice. Yeah, that's normal. Yeah. I love funny voices. Mark knows that.
Yeah.
But whenever
Mark,
they're talking to,
hold on, let me cut you off. You're about to see real magic. Now, I am the Goblin King today.
Yeah.
We're about to see real magic happen. Oh,
look at that.
Just came in, baby.
Oh, now that is a nice looking mug. Wow.
80s style dungeon class mug. All right.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to get it.
Where we can get one of those.
I know. Sorry, Logan. That was just.
You're good.
No, I was excited to see that. So
those are available on DungeonClass.com merch store, by the way. Just saying. But no, that looks nice. I haven't seen one in person. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Looks like a tuxedo. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So Logan, I like what you did, and that was kind of what our video, Mark, that we talked about. That we talked about an atmosphere. Basically, you took part in getting all of their senses to, as many senses as you could, to be actively engaged in the mood that you were setting. Movies do it, like you say. Movies can do it. They can do sound and sight. At home, you can do smells. You can do candles if you're trying to do or a smoke machine, or you can, dim the lights. But I do like the visual too. A DM screen is really important for a DM because you can keep a lot of good information in there. And one day we'll let you in on the secrets behind our DM screens for sure. But
the secrets.
And I'd like to know yours as well. But one of the things I like to do is if I'm running a Dark Sun campaign, I print out or look for my old modules or whatever and attach to the edge of the DM screen some of the artwork from Dark Sun or desert-y stuff or Mad Max or something. Right. Something like that. And I think the same thing when you're running a horror theme or just something that's supposed to be a little more Halloween theme, even if it's funny or whatever, adjust your DM screen, put some art, find it, print it, put it on your iPad and flip it over, whatever. The more you can visualize and show them on top of doing the lighting, the sounds. I like your batteries on a metal chair. That's great. Spooky music in the background, smoke machine. The more you do, the more engaged you become as a player, and you can't even help it. It just happens. It's like a show. You go to a really good play in New York or something, and you forget that sometimes you forget that you're at a play because you're so engaged in what the story is going on. So,
no, I like that. It's like he took we had ideas,
right,
and then doing the sound effects with that's like a Foley artist right there, making it sound like they're going through the bushes and all. That's epic. That's good. That's really good stuff. So atmosphere really makes really amps the tension for sure. And we like that idea. So thanks for sharing that one. All right, Gonzo, you had some pumpkin ideas. You were talking about some spell kind of thing.
I did. So it's funny. I'm blessed that I have a lot of old Dragon magazines and Dungeon magazines, which were products of Wizards of the Coast and TSR back in the day. They came out monthly. The Dragon magazine was more about articles, and then Dungeon magazine became more about adventures. And I go through and just pull them out just to reread, because what was applicable in 1991 or 1998 or whatever still applies now for the most part. The stats may be different because 5th edition is different in 3rd or 1st or 2nd edition.
Right.
But the character designs, the articles themselves on how to DM or how to do better, or building atmosphere or whatever, all these things are still applicable, and I like to refresh and learn. And then maybe I can share it with you guys as you share with me. So
ideas don't go bad.
They don't. Good ideas are good ideas. This is an old Dragon magazine from 1998. I just pull them out randomly because I don't remember what's in all of them, and I never have read all the way through any of them. But and I started looking, and they had some cool things in here. But one of the ones I saw that I really liked that I thought we could update to 5th edition was a jack-o'-lantern article. And it was basically just creating these magical jack-o'-lanterns and using them in your campaign as magical items, one-time use magical items. And anyone can use them. I immediately pictured like a hag, a night hag or something, who has a pumpkin patch. And so there's lanterns everywhere, right? We're all carving lanterns here soon if we're not already. In Florida, we kind of wait till later because they rot so quick if you put it outside. But up north, they can do it early, and they stay pretty much how you carve them. And you can carve happy ones. You can carve sad. You can carve scary. Well, these would be magical weapons or items that a hag could use, a sorcerer, a wizard, or a player could use. So, Mark, I think you have some pictures, but here's just real basic, and then we can design it as a group here with the chat. I see Robert Trevino's here. I think Rivers is here, and whoever else wants to chime in. Scarecrows, using them effectively. We can talk about that. We can look into that. Let's talk about jack-o'-lanterns first, Robert, and let's go right into it. So one of the ones I want to talk about is when we carve happy or jovial lanterns. Do you have a picture of something like a smiley face lantern?
I do. If it would let me show it. Man, all right. So here's a good one here. Hold on. I have too many windows.
Yeah, close all your windows. Just leave.
I was trying to get real fancy and find some ahead of you.
Okay.
Man, that's not.
Close all the windows except for the window.
The live stream.
Leading, the live stream, and then also the window leading to dungeonclass.com.
Oh my God.
And the link to the merch store to get your cool 80s mugs. You got to keep that window open.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true. So I'm
learning here.
Okay, whatever. Just pop it up if you can.
I will.
It's just everyone knows a pumpkin carved with a smile on it, happy face. I like the idea of these. What their magical power that they would have is a spell effect, and that would be a charm person. So it could be used by just literally anybody with magical powers. Yeah, there you go. So it'd be, if that's sitting around and this could be on the table as a decoration, it could be in a yard, it could be just with a candle in it. And, it depends on who's trying to charm somebody and how they want to activate it. And that's up to you and the DM. But you could just say there's a semantic word they say and it activates the spell. And then everyone has to save, make what is it, charisma? Or I don't know what the saving throw is for charm person. Maybe you guys know or the chat knows.
I think it's charisma.
Whatever.
It's either charisma or wisdom something.
So everyone makes their saving throw, and those that don't make it are charmed by that person who has control over it or who created it. And then,
or it could even be if they're in a big pumpkin patch, like you're saying, going to find this hag's shack. Maybe you just have the players make a save. They don't know why. If they fail to save, then you're like, well, you guys feel good. You feel calm. You feel happy. You're excited to meet whoever's in this wonderful pumpkin patch.
Yeah. And so their reactions, maybe when they see the hag, they actually don't see the hag. They see, or the evil sorcerer. They see somebody that they like a beautiful person, or like a kindly old man, or whatever. They're charmed, right? For the time being. So, I mean, I think that's a cool way to use a Halloween themed item in any game that you're running. You could put this anywhere in anything. And the players could have access to this too. If they want to use these or say, hey, we want to create those, come up with a way for an artificer or a wizard to summon these jack-o'-lanterns. It's not a really high-level spell. Right. Maybe a second level or third level spell the most. But
I would think it's similar to some kind of glyph of warding or something where they enchant something and leave it somewhere else, kind of like a trap.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I thought these are good ideas. So that would be a happy one, and we can come up with others. Another one would be a surprise face, like a whoop. Something like that. So a jack-o'-lantern that's surprised. This one I like because this reminds me of Spider-Man's nemesis, the Green Goblin, where he throws pumpkin bombs at people, and these could be smaller gourds, they could be small pumpkins, they could be larger ones. But these blow up upon the caster's wishes, and they can be almost like a little mini fireball, like a 3d6, 10-foot area.
Just half the stats of a fireball.
Yeah, I would just half it, and then give it a 10-foot, radius, and make sure it's smaller so it's throwable, up to 20 feet, 30 feet. So a player could use them and gather them after a battle, and they're like, hey, I'm going to use these, or carry them around. And
could you imagine trying to run through a pumpkin patch and you have just landmine pumpkins? I'll be surprised pumpkins if you get too close to it. Then,
right.
Imagine how bad that'd be.
Right. So this is a surprise or a bomb. This is a offensive pumpkin, let's say, or a jack-o'-lantern, and we can create many more. What about fright? What if you have the scary face? The face that everyone usually does with the frown or the evil grin or something. I would assume that would quickly be a fright spell, fear spell, which everyone has to make their saving throw or they're afraid. And again, what I like about these is they're already created. So I see it as something that's already there, whether it's a decoration or in the midst of other things in the home or the place. And then too, they can be activated by the wizard, by the hag, by the person that's using them, even by the players if they get control of some of these things.
Yeah.
They can just know the word that activates them or the semantic spell. Or
and stealing a thought from the chat, Robert said a hag could cast some kind of spell over pumpkin patch, make the characters do insanity saves. So instead of fear, instead of fear, what if they see a pumpkin and they make a save, they don't know why, but all of a sudden they hear crazy whispers from behind them the whole time they're there.
Right.
Just add some, you can get creative with all kinds of things. This is a good idea from Robert. I like that one.
Yeah, great idea, Robert. I agree. That's a great idea. So I was thinking, those are three simple ones that I read through here. They had different ones too, but we could easily create more. I could think of, there you go. That's a good one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then think about the, like a stink one, like a cloud kill or a stinking cloud spell.
It could be like a picture of a skunk on it, like a carved little skunk outline or something.
Yeah. Just
you get funny with it.
In other words, since we're talking about Halloween, if you're running a Halloween adventure in the next couple weeks, throw these in your game. It's easy to do, and you can give it to players to use, or you can use your NPCs. Your bad guys can use it, or whatever, however you want to run it. Or it could be the whole adventure for that night, where they're in a large maze, corn maze, and then there's a pumpkin patch, and they run into one thing after another that's very Halloween themed. So
yeah.
These were some ideas I had and that I stole from an old Dragon magazine, and 5th edition, you just use the spell effects for now. You make sure the damage is balanced and that kind of thing. It's really easy to do. So, so that's one of the things I had anyway, Mark. I have other ideas and stuff, but I don't know what you guys brought to the table. But
well, I actually wanted to share one thing. If it will come up, if it won't, it's fine. So one of if you're looking for a one shot, a really good one shot, I highly recommend something called The Haunt. It's on the DM's Guild. It's a great one shot. I'm just seeing if I can share the picture. But anyway, man, this thing's fighting me now. It's locking up. All right then.
No worries. You can put Robert's comment on there and talk about it. You're locked up too.
Yeah, oh, no. My whole thing's froze. All right, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Technology.
I was trying to share too many things. I didn't like it. All right, so you want me to share which one, Roberts?
I like that he's going to use it for his Strahd game, just throwing some pumpkins. In other words, the pumpkin patch, which is generally this time of year, and the players are walking by a harmless looking pumpkin patch with some of them being carved, and then the pumpkins start going off or whatever. Perfect.
Well, why don't we get into this? I thought we would. I like what he said, so let's do that, and I'll talk about my idea.
Okay.
The haunt. So, I think this. So you said something about a pumpkin patch. You certainly could. So how would you use a scarecrow effectively? So what are some ideas you might use a scarecrow?
I don't know if you're able to pull up a scarecrow on D&D Beyond. They have some cool effects. Probably.
I was looking for a monster manual.
Everything's going really slow right now.
I think for me, just off the top of my head,
I'll pull it up while you guys are talking.
Yeah, off the top of my head, one ability that scarecrows have, as far as from the Monster Manual 5e, is that if they're not moving, then you can't distinguish them from just a regular scarecrow, a non-animated scarecrow. And I think that's such a great kind of ability that this monster would have, because it's easy for the characters to get ready for a battle or be expecting something if they hear crazy sounds in a forest and like, oh, there's owlbear-sized tracks around you. Like, okay, they know it's coming. But if they're just walking through a field and they have scarecrows all around them in this old, kind of dried out, withered cornfield or something, and all of a sudden, one of them, you think you see it, like if they roll high in perception, you see one of them just kind of like cock its head. And you're like, oh, the wind must have moved it or something like that. Or maybe another one like kind of like just kind of like blinks or something like that. Yeah. You can create such a dynamic of suspension and paranoia with the characters. Just even if you only have one of those scarecrows in the field be the actual monster, a scarecrow, they'll be freaked out. They'll feel so surrounded by all these scarecrows.
Yeah. Just even having the presence of a scarecrow, I think in a D&D setting is going to make them think that, that thing's going to come alive, Yep. And may or may not. But just the fear or the possibility of it is enough to, I think, bring tension. So if it were me, I would definitely use it, if nothing else, to bring tension. That's good. And that I think it's called false life is what they call that, where it can not look like it's alive or something like that. Or there's a name for it. They said that's what they call it in that the one shot that I was going to talk about in a moment. But very good. All right. So any other ideas? Gonzo, you have any ideas on how would you use a scarecrow, or any ideas that you would make it?
I'm trying to pull up the stats for Scarecrow because I know that they have some neat abilities.
Right.
So that's what I'm working on actually. So I would suggest, I like Logan's idea of multiple Scarecrows being around, where obviously you could animate one or two.
Right.
That's always been a horror theme that's been used over and over. So
Right.
That's a great idea for sure. But no, I don't really. I mean, unless Robert has an idea, because he brought it up, so he may have a good idea too.
He was asking how to use it effectively, and I think effectively is maybe the key word here. And honestly, it's working. You've used it correctly when you can see that your players are a little bit freaked out by it, and that may or may not have to come to life to do that. That's my take on it, is that you're using it effectively. If it drives up the tension, it's not just window dressing per se, and maybe even take care to describe it. And the wind's blowing through and you can hear a rustle. So there's this whole, is it alive, is it not? That vibe is, I would want to feed that vibe, even if I had no intention of that thing coming alive. That I would want them to, as long as they could think that that's possible.
All right, can you pull up my screen full screen?
Your screen full screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Oh, you in general?
Gonzo wants center stage.
Okay,
well,
hold on.
It should show what I'm looking at. Maybe not. Tell me what you see.
Remove from the strand. Solo
While you guys are
layout.
messing with the tech, another idea could be the Scarecrow doesn't have to be bad. It could be a good guy.
An NPC.
Scarecrow could be like, think of the Scarecrow almost like a little tortured, poor soul that's strapped up on his little post, thinking like, oh, there's a witch up here. You don't want to go up here. And then that gives the players a thought, like, do we trust the Scarecrow? Is it a trap, or is it honestly a potential ally? Get creative. I've always thought it's a fun thing to kind of reverse a stereotype on a monster. Like, what if there's, like a friendly monster that just wants to help you? Not everything has to be bad, just like how not all adventuring parties are good.
No, Gonzo, I think you have to pull it up on your side. I think there's a button somewhere that says share screen on your side.
There must be. I don't know where it is. I haven't learned this yet. Because I've seen people do it all the time. I just don't know.
I've pushed on all the buttons around you and nothing says to see what you see.
So Scarecrows, their armor class is low. It's 11 generally. Hit points 8d8 to 36 or so. So they're challenge rating 1. So they're not supposed to be completely debilitating, but they do have some immunities. One is a lot of conditions like charmed, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, poison, unconscious. They're immune to poison in general, and they're resistant damage-wise to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical. So if this is used on low-level characters, they probably don't have magic swords and everything yet.
Yeah.
And they're going to be immune to that. So their hit points is pretty high when they're immune to a lot of weapons that they would have access to. Now, they do have a vulnerability, which means that you have advantage on them if someone thinks to use fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a key. And maybe if you can counter that as a dungeon master, maybe they're in a wet bog where everything's wet. So these Scarecrows are in like a oversaturated field or something, and fire would just not come easy other than by a spell.
Yeah. Or if the Scarecrow gets hit by a firebolt, catches on fire, and then runs up to give the player a hug.
Yeah. And they do get a 2 attack. They have claw attacks. They do a 2d4 plus 1, which isn't terrible. But it does have to save on a saving throw if you get hit or you're frightened. And the other thing is they have another attack, which is a terrifying gaze, which you have to make your saving throw, a wisdom saving throw, or be frightened. So to answer Robert's question, the DC on this, the difficulty is 11. If you want to make this a little more powerful, make the DC 14 or 15 even, depending on the level and how many characters and how many Scarecrows you have. And if you get 1 or 2 players where they can't attack out of 5 or 6, that already affects the team a lot, and it makes them a little more scary to tackle as a monster in general. And I try to stay away from exactly how the stats are in Monster Manual, because everyone has access to Monster Manual, but no one has access to behind my DM screen. So I change it anyway. I usually be like, this group is tough and they have magical weapons. So he's going to have 40 hit points, but he's going to have 2 attacks, and the DC is going to be 15, or they're going to be scared.
Yeah.
You just bump it up a little bit. It's a more substantial Scarecrow, and it works really well. So anyway, that's the stats. I'm sorry we couldn't show them to you. We're going to learn how to do that as time goes, for sure. So
that'd be a bad situation for players to be afraid of, like have the fear condition hit by one Scarecrow, start sprinting away from it into the field and run to another Scarecrow, and just have this chain reaction of them Scooby-Doo style, scrambling through this field and all these Scarecrows coming at them. That could be a whole mess of things in itself. One of them falls down, gets left behind, and they're afraid, so they can't go back until they save.
Right.
Yeah. Robert, you got some ammunition to really take off some players here.
He's got some good ideas there. A hag casting spell over a patch. That kind of reminds me of you could even do like right away the idea of a necromancer casting like a blight kind of thing around him that looks like it's like rotting all of the vegetation around him that could affect them if they step in that area. That has a nice scary vibe to it, to say the least.
Right.
Gonzo, you did one with blood and like Children of the Corn kind of thing one time.
That one was crazy.
Yeah, it was it was like a hag.
Yeah,
blood hags.
But she was, I forgot the word. When you take all the blood out of something?
Exsanguinate.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, English teacher. She was doing townsfolk. So she was capturing random townsfolk and bringing them down into her underground lair, which everyone has. I mean, I have one.
Yeah. I mean,
and then she was having them tied up she was controlling the vines and the roots that were coming through the dirt walls and having them tie the people up upside down sometimes, whatever.
You said it was like thorns, like vines and thorns.
So when the party finally made its way down, figuring this out and what was going on, they saw this horror scene where there's all these poor farmers and whatever tied up, strung up against the wall, and being, with these little needles and little vines being used to suck their blood into into her master chair, like her chamber chair, and she was getting the power from this. Yeah. She's like a blood witch or something. Yeah. And then she had these needles that she fought with that extracted blood out of you, which our rogue ended up with once you guys killed her. So that was pretty. I'm definitely down with more horror themes. That's generally my nature. Unfortunately, I was polluted as a child, watched a lot and read a lot. And
I grew up on Stephen King, so I'm down with that.
Yeah, same here. So unfortunately for my players, that's where my mind usually goes, is the more scary kind of scenarios. So I think I enjoy putting those together. I don't know if they enjoy playing them. I know it freaks them out a little bit. And there's 2 things too. There's terror and there's horror.
Yeah.
Those are very different.
Gonzo, what's the difference between terror and horror? What does that even mean?
I know. I'm trying to think out loud here, but I know that terror is when the suspense of something happening, like that's what I'm trying to think of as good examples, because that's usually how we learn. But in horror is when you see something that could be something really gross, or like you walk into that scenario and it's like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's horror. Versus terror is you're hiding behind a corner because someone's hunting you down and you're in a closet and you see a shadow go by the closet, right? So that's terror. Yeah. So in horror, it's just like the actual event is horrifying. It is. So I like both. And I think if you're designing a Halloween adventure, you want to try to use both elements as well. So.
Yeah, he said y'all had Stephen King. Dude. I had R.L. Stine. So having been from the Stephen King background and being a teacher, my kids reading R.L. Stine, I'm like, no, it's like Diet Stephen King right there.
Whatever works, whatever gets people to read.
It did. I actually liked R.L. Stine for that reason. And honestly, I, as a teacher, teaching middle school at that time, I would be like, I'd rather my kids be reading R.L. Stine than Stephen King probably at this age, although I read Stephen King in middle school. But high school probably more for Stephen King. But good stuff. Yeah, anything gets you going, creepy stuff, I'm down with that. And suspense is really great.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing I remember about that when you did that, Gonzo, is Allie being horrified by the whole and freaked out by the whole scene. I was like, That's pretty cool. You know, when you have that effect, you know, like, yeah, that's working.
Yep, exactly. And that's your payoff as a dungeon master. You may only get one of these every third game that you run, but when you feel like you've got everyone at the edge of your fingertips for whatever, you know, maybe it's a climatic battle with someone they've been chasing forever, and they finally find out who he really is, or she is, or they, you know, they find that treasure, whatever it is, when you can feel that moment, and this will be a different video we can talk about, but that is king. As a dungeon master, that means you've told a good story, they've told a good story, and you guys are in synergy, working together, building a great adventure that we could watch as a movie. I mean, I don't know how many people I've heard from that play D&D that said it'd be such a great movie, because in their minds it was a movie. It was amazing. It was epic. Right.
And honestly, if it was a movie, it wouldn't be the same. You know, it's that you're engaged in that, you're part of it versus watching it. And that's the point that's cool about D&D. All right, so real quick, I was talking about the Haunt. So the Haunt is it's a great one-shot deal. It is by, if I can bring up the title here, it's on DM's Guild. It's a big-time bestseller, and of course, this isn't going to open for me. Man, my computer's being weird tonight. But if you look, it's like it's up near the top. If you just type in the Haunt, and there's like a Haunt 2. And now a Haunt 3, I guess. But if you like creepy dolls, yeah,
who doesn't?
The jam for you. Yeah, and for this one, I actually put together a nice soundtrack that had creepy dolls making like chattering kind of noises and stuff, making little and everyone was getting freaked out, and we had the lights down and all that, and it had a nice visceral effect on everybody, and the doll. That part about could it make, you know, is it going to come to life? Will it come to life? Kind of thing was part of that tension that happened, and it's very Chucky-like, but also a ghost story kind of deal. There you go, the Haunt.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's very good, excellent. I highly recommend it. DM's Guild.
DM's Guild. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cheap. It's I forget, it's like $4, $5, something like that to do that, and it's really well written, really easy to run. Had some really great stuff in it, so I highly recommend it. I think that's the one, if I remember right, had the Undead Beholder in it as well, which our barbarian promptly jumped in the pool where the Undead Beholder was. So that's just par for the course.
I do remember
that. So very good. So I really recommend that. So you mentioned, Gonzo, that we reskinned some horror monsters, and I don't know if I can bring these up or not. I'm going to try.
We have a whole video called, what is it called? Halloween
movie monsters, I think it is.
It was like adapting movie monsters of D&D.
So we actually took the time to 5th edition D&D-ize the 3 monsters from movies. One was Chucky from Child's Play.
Yes.
One was Mike Myers from Halloween franchise.
Yes.
And I don't remember the third. Was it Freddy Krueger, or was it?
It was Jason. Or no. Was it? It was Pennywise.
Pennywise clown from Stephen King's It. That's right. Those 3.
Yeah, horror movie monsters for your D&D campaign.
There you go. So in the description, a lot of you will be watching this on the replay. In the description, there'll be a link where you can just click on it and go watch this video. Check it out if you haven't already. You'll be able to use these in your game if you want. We actually have right. It's in there in that.
Yes. Yeah. So we talk about it. We go over it, and we talk about what we did with it, how we'd make them. We later made PDFs of them, and there'll be links in the description right after I get off to here. I'll be putting it in there, the links to PDFs where we actually reskinned them. So basically, I just wanted to talk just a little bit about how we did that, and that you could do that too. You know, so Gonzo and I talked about each character, like what kind of class kind of they would kind of be like, or took an existing monster and we tweaked it a bit. So there's different paths you could go with this. It was a little harder with Pennywise because he's like a trickster, an arcane trickster kind of character. So we pretty much took like an NPC arcane trickster, made him into a monsterized version of that. So that's one path you could go. The easiest path is if you can try to find in the Dungeon Master's Guide a monster that's somewhat similar. like if you use like an automaton kind of thing for maybe Mike Myers, kind of start there, or a Gollum kind of character, maybe start there, or something that you can start with as a basis. And you have things like your armor class, you've got your hit points, and maybe you have some basic stats and all that you can kind of start with. And then it's a matter of looking at their abilities. You know, do the abilities match what you think Mike Myers can do, for example?
Okay.
Does that work? And reskinning is the easy path to go. That's the easiest way to take.
Are you able to pop that up or no? Not
I'm
tonight.
trying, man. Right now, I opened it and it's okay. Well, Pennywise is here. Let me see if I can share that one. Hold on.
Hey, Ali G's in the house.
I don't know why it's acting this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything's going very sluggish.
Well, if not, I guess we just refer people to the video because it's all in there. We can just let people know that the video's there. It's already ready to go. The download is in the video. So they can access the PDF if they want from there.
Yeah.
And
I love what Mark said about just take like what you need from anything from the monster manual. Like if you're trying to make, you know, Freddy Krueger, and one of his things is that he's just kind of everywhere, you know, you can just kind of give him maybe like a teleport, some kind of teleport something, you know, find a monster, like a displacer beast that's able to just kind of blink in and out at different spots. Just let the books do the math for you. And all you really have to do as a dungeon master is just tell them what they're looking at. Just describe it, bring up the music, get the art, some kind of complete the image for them so that, like what you were saying earlier, it feels like a movie in their minds.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a short story too, and it starts with a thief or something who's got an idea or knows that there's like buried treasure somewhere in the bowels of his old cottage or house or church or something. He purchases it. He does whatever he has to do. It could be a noble that does this. And then to scare people away, he tells everyone how haunted it is and whatever. But as he comes to find out, his fake hauntings to scare people away, the noises that he creates, the things he does to keep people away while he's searching for this treasure, start to be things that he's not doing. So he would approach the party and pretend that it's fake and say, yeah, I do things to scare people away. You know, I just, or maybe he doesn't approach them. Maybe he tells them, yeah, the place is haunted and I want you to figure it out. And he can't figure it out. So
Ghostbusters.
So yeah, it's a ghost kind of thing. You know, some real entity or spirit has moved into this place. Maybe it's guarding the treasure from him. Maybe it doesn't want him to find it. Maybe it wants someone only righteous to find it or whatever. But it's just a cool little story you could drop in at any time and let your players go to work and see what they decide to do. They may want the treasure for themselves and say, well, if we find it, we're keeping it, or half of or whatever it is. And you know, then you can play games with the treasure. You can have it cursed. You can have those jack-o'-lanterns we talked about in the beginning of the video involved in this. You could have different things going on where there's a greater spirit involved, or
you could have the treasure be buried in the middle of a cornfield, and where he used to have, like, do minor image of scarecrows coming alive, all of a sudden the scarecrows come alive.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Lots of fun ideas for Halloween. It's not that hard to come up with something a little spooky. All you have to do is think about anything that would scare you. If you're scared of snakes, then come up with something with snakes. Indiana Jones was. He didn't like snakes.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard to figure something out where, you know, you can use something that you don't like or people don't like. You know, even things like real frights, like what do you call claustrophobia?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Like real phobias and
use real phobias and use it to your advantage when you're building an adventure. So, but that's what I like. I don't know where Mark went. His computer locked up, I think he's saying. So I don't know how. I don't know how the stream is still going on if his computer locked up.
That is interesting. Are we just stuck in a time loop now or something?
We could be. I mean, we could be, Logan. Who knows?
Oh boy.
But I would say that what we should do now is do one last creation. Let's see what Robert says here. Oh, gosh.
He's mentioning the Fiend Folio.
It's behind you. Take a look behind you where deities and demigods.
It's right behind you.
That's it right there.
That's this Fiend Folio, you mean?
Oh, yeah, that's hardcore. It's got some great monsters in it. Some great things that you open it up and you'll like it, Lugs. It's got first edition stuff. Turn that into 5th edition and you've got gold on you right there.
Look at this guy. That alone is the scariest thing I've seen all day. Look at him.
It looks like some of my works.
Dude, seriously.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great idea, Robert. Using any product you have and pulling out things that are spooky at this time of year is a great way to go. So, all right. Well, I think with our technical problems we've had tonight, this has been an okay stream for us. Not super proud of, but I think we've covered a lot of information and a lot of things that you as DMs and players can use in your games to help make them more spooky at Halloween.
Yeah.
I want to continue to say that we're so grateful for our chat. We're so grateful for those that follow Dungeon Class. We're grateful for those of you watching this video on repeat, in the morning or overnight or whenever you get back from work. And, we really enjoy the ability we have to connect with you guys because we get so much out of it. Robert's given us some good ideas tonight. And
I'm definitely going to be dropping Scarecrows in pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, I had to look it up to find out what they actually did, and now they sound a lot of fun to throw into a Halloween thing. So it's by sharing is how we each grow. We grow our thought process. We grow our creativity. There's nothing better than doing that. There's nothing better than doing that. And we have the ability to do that through technology, even when it's barely working like it is for us. So, oh, good. He said he put something in the Discord. I will check that out. And thanks for coming over from Discord. I appreciate that. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I apologize, but I know Mark was locked out of us right now, so we may have to close the stream down. But I feel like that's about all I wanted to talk about. I had one more idea, and that's a web golem. Lugs,
oh, that's cool. Yeah, just go over that.
I'll also mention that really quick, and then we may finish up. But a web golem, I actually saw this again. It was something in an old Dragon magazine or something. It wasn't a golem. It was like a web ghost or something. But I was like, well, a golem made out of web, something that was magically created, usually by evil, but magically created. And it's made completely out of webs. And in the webs, it just has like indentations for its eyes and mouth, which it doesn't really need. But in and out of its mouth and in and out of its body, there's all these tiny little spiders crawling all over. So already it's creepy, and it's not something your players will want to wrestle with. And unfortunately, because it's web-based and made out of complete web, it's got spider climb ability, and it's got the ability to just hit you with a big fist that encompasses you. And every time it hits, it's got the ability to grapple. So now you're going to have to use a strength check to get out. When it grapples, it has a second attack where it can release spiders onto the person that it's grappled. 2d12, whatever, however many you want to do. And the spider would be like a 10 hit point or 10 armor class, 1 hit point spider. So they're just small spiders. They don't have to be poisonous, or they can, depending on the level of your group. And then, your players are getting covered with spiders. They're having to take their sword and, swipe them off, or their club, and smash them. And if they do 12 points of damage, then 12 of the 20 spiders that came are dead, or whatever. It's going to take up their turn. It's going to aggravate them. It's going to be creeping them out. And just something else that you can use in your D&D game for Halloween. Just something that your hag can have that, she's already made you go through a pumpkin patch with exploding pumpkins and fear pumpkins. And then you went to the Scarecrow field where some of the Scarecrows came alive and attacked you, and you had to fight them. And now you're getting to the hag herself, and she's got this web golem that she's created that just protects her, and
Yeah.
gotta fight that. The shoot spider. Right there's your adventure for the night. You're welcome.
Boom.
Drop in the
Drop the mic.
Logan, I think we can close this stream down. We want everyone to know we care for them, and we're grateful that you're here with us. And I'm hoping as you watch this on replay, you'll share Dungeon Class with others, get people to subscribe. We're growing. I need sunglasses because the future is really bright for us here, and we are just getting started. I know we say that all the time, but it really feels that way. We're being consistent with our live streams. We're being consistent with our video drops now, and we've always been. And we want to, more importantly, we just want to connect with you guys. So we're going to find the night that it works for everybody and continue doing that. So I would say until next time, Mark's not here. Unfortunately, his computer locked up. But Logan, I would say class dismissed.
Class dismissed.
All right. And I'll close out and you close yours out and go from there. Take care, everyone.
There it is. Have a good night.